Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. The Best Loser here once again. Today is Friday the 16th of January 2026 and well, it's time for me to do the weekend Forex forecast, or let's say the weekly Forex forecast for the upcoming week. As usual, we are going to be kicking things off by taking a look at the economical calendar to see what we have from a fundamental perspective for the upcoming week. All right, so without any further delays, guys, let's take a look at the economical calendar. As you can see, well, this is a loaded week. I'm still scrolling. Okay, on Monday actually we do have a bank holiday in the United States. Okay, that is going to be the Martin Luther King Day. All right, that's a bank holiday on in the United States. And then on the same Monday 8:30 a.m. we do have the CPI data coming out from the Canadian axis. On Tuesday we do have the claimant count charge coming from the British axis. All right, and also the Bank of England's governor is going to be speaking 4:45 a.m. as well. We do have CPI data coming from the British axis 2 a.m. Eastern. Trump is going to be speaking as well 8:30 a.m. That is most likely going to be impacting the US dollar crosses. And then later in the day, during the Asian session, we do have the employment and unemployment data coming out from the Australian axis. Okay, on Thursday we do have Thursday we have unemployment rates. We also have honestly it's just a lot. Let me just highlight the really key ones that I can see right here. Obviously we do have this this is going to be a big one, this area right here for the yen crosses. Okay, the yen crosses are pretty much very volatile these days, so it's make sure that by Thursday going into Friday morning, you make sure that you are very protected when it comes to any yen positions that you have open, because again, a lot can happen during this press conference and the monetary policy statements from the Japanese axis. Okay, so that is something to definitely keep an eye on as we go into next week. And then to close out the week, we have the PMIs coming out from pretty much everywhere. Okay, the Europe, French, German, United States, so it's a bunch of PMIs that will be released, actually also from Britain. So let's just call it the PMI Friday. All right, so that's pretty much it. That is gonna be it for the economic. I mean, we have a lot of news. Okay, high impact news next week. So that means there's a very high chance we're probably going to be having significant volatility next week. Well, let's see how it goes. So now that's pretty much it from the fundamental perspective. Okay, what we have on the calendar. Now we're going to be going back to the charts, and as usual, I'm going to be kicking things off with the DXY. Okay, now we are taking a look at the DXY from the daily time frame. Well, really nice push this week. We had anticipated that the markets will give us a pullback to retest demand zones in the 4 hours time frame, and from there the bulls are most likely going to be coming into this market, and that is pretty much what the kind of move that we have gotten this week. Okay, so with that now out of the way, let's see what do we have in terms of price action. As you can see here, this market has now clearly taken off. Okay, this particular level that I was also keeping an eye on. You can see now, not only did we trade above it, but we have actually closed a candle above it. Okay, so this right now, in my own opinion, is a nice, a demand zone. Okay, it is still forming. Okay, still forming, but it's a demand zone on the weekly. Not on the weekly, it's a demand zone on the daily time frame, as we can see right now. Okay, because obviously this gave us a nice push to the upside, taking off this level of structure. You can see we got all this hesitation as we got very close to this level, and then finally the bulls came into this market and pushed price above that particular level, and you can see this demand zone was created in the process. So now let's take a look at what we have in the 4 hours time frame. It's no surprise that actually, if you narrow down, you see that this is the demand zone. This 4 hours demand zone that actually led to the break of that level of structure. Okay, so this is a 4 hours demand zone that is nested inside a daily demand zone. Okay, so it's no surprise to me that when markets gave us a push into this particular demand zone, you can see how the bulls came in here in momentum to push this thing back to the upside. Okay, so that is no surprise, because again, there are a lot of buyers sitting in this particular area. Obviously, I was keeping an eye on this one, but to be honest, this market did not even give any retracement. It was literally buying heavily, massively. All right, there was no pullbacks whatsoever. So I didn't really get a chance to take advantage of this particular move. But hey, What do we have now? We got this nice push to the upside, but again, we seem to be having that resistance, okay, right around, will I say 99.50 level, okay, institutional price level of 99.50. That is where the market is hesitating at this level. So, well, market is now pretty much trapped between this demand zone. Okay, we have now this demand zone and also this level of resistance that we now have around 99.50 level. So, well, it's almost, I wouldn't really call it a range, but I would say that this is a level that the markets will, well, need to take off at this particular point. Well, it's very possible that the market opens next week and we get a momentum push, okay, to the upside, clearly taking off this particular level. And when that happens, well, there'll be demand zones forming on our charts. And if that is the case, then I'll be waiting for the markets to give me a pullback into those demand zones that form for further continuations to the upside, okay? Now, there's also the possibility that, well, this resistance is, going to hold, and this market will find a way to even give us another push, maybe into this particular demand zone, or even overshoot it a little bit, because again, we still have this particular daily demand zone area, all right? And maybe let's say anywhere from right around here, the markets might give us another rotation to the upside, okay? This is another possibility that I can see on my charts, but all in all, I believe that the bulls are now, strongly in control in this market. We had this level of structure that we have in this area. Markets have taken it up to the upside, creating, this demand zone. So this is the first bounce off of the demand zone. We can easily continue momentum, all right? Like I said in the first case, or the markets probably come back, maybe grab liquidity below these particular lows that we have in this area, and then from right around here, give us another reversal for further continuations to the upside. That is another possibility that I can see as we go into next week. As usual, guys, I'm going to be keeping you guys posted in the Discord channel, all right? Okay, so that's it for the DXY. Next up is going to be Euro US dollar. Now, for Euro US dollar, what do we have here? Well, almost the mirror opposite of DXY. If you guys remember, we had this particular demand zone area that I was, that I had mapped out on my charts. Even though I told you guys that I see a situation whereby the market is going to give us a break of that particular demand zone, okay? But as you can see here, if we read price action, this market gave us a dip into that particular into this particular demand zone area. The bulls came into this market, but you can see from there the bears have just taken over. And not only have the bears taken over, now we have succeeded in closing a candle below this particular demand zone area. So this is now bearish territory. Okay, the bears are in control in this market, make no mistake. And actually in that process as well, you can see that now we have formed a supply zone in the daily charts. Okay, so this is the daily supply zone area, okay, that led to the break of this level of structure that we have in this area. So we have a daily supply zone in here. Two courses of action, in my own opinion. There's a possibility that this market is going to give us a pullback next week, okay, into this particular supply zone that we have on the daily, and then from right around there, the markets can begin to shoot back to the downside again, okay. That is what I can see here from the daily time frame. And for those of you who love the whole fair value gap idea, all right, so this is obviously a fair value gap in here, so the markets can come back to fill those fair value gap, in the process also dipping into this particular supply zone that we have here in the daily, and from there any reversals, in my opinion, will be high quality for further continuations to the downside, okay. Now taking a look at the 4 hours time frame of euro dollar, pretty much the same scenario, okay, that we have in the case of DXY, okay. The markets gave us, well, here this level of structure was taken out to the downside, okay. Not only did we form the supply zone in the in the daily time frame, we also have the supply zone, okay, that led to the break of this level of structure, in the 4 hours time frame. And from here you can see the markets earlier today gave us a tap, literally a tap into that particular 4 hour supply zone, and from there the bears came in massively. One thing you can notice here is that in the case of euro dollar, we actually took off this low, but quite didn't succeed in closing below that particular low. So that is something to keep an eye on as we go into next week, okay. So, well, like I said, a few courses of action here, in my own opinion. We have this key level in this area. Again, if the market opens, chances are we might get a push to the downside. Okay, if that happens, well, we might have a new supply zone forming in here. Very possible that the markets can give us a push in here for further continuations to the downside. All right, which obviously I'm going to be interested in, because at this point I'm let's say looking forward to taking short positions in euro dollar, okay, upon pullbacks. Now we can also see that we have this falling channel in euro dollar in the 4 hours time frame right now, okay, and well, at this point price is quite close to the return line of this particular channel. All right, so that is something to keep an eye on, because again, the markets can give you that push to the downside, and then it doesn't make sense for you to be searching for short opportunities very close to the return line, because chances are from there the markets might give you another retracement to retest, let's say, the mean, okay, the midline of this channel, or even all the way to the trend line of this channel, which is one of the possibilities that we had pointed out, okay, from the daily chart. So obviously we do have this 4 hours of supply zone. We do have the supply zone from the daily charts that I showed you guys earlier. So again, I won't be surprised if, let's say, the market opens and we get that push to the upside, okay, into this particular supply zone area. Anywhere from right around here, any reversals, in my own opinion, will be really high quality for further continuations to the downside, okay. So a few scenarios, like I had pointed out, one of them being that, let's say, the market opens, gives us a nice push to the downside, okay, and then from there supply zones form, and then the market finds a way to give us a further continuation to the downside, okay. Or let's say the bulls come into this market and push this thing up into this particular supply zone area, and then anywhere from right around here give us another swing to the downside, okay. So let's see how that goes. That's pretty much what I can see right now in euro dollar. Obviously, should anything will I say, I'm going to be keeping you guys posted in the Discord channel, okay. You guys know that I have a Discord. Feel free to join. The link is going to be in the description. All right, so I'm going to be keeping you guys posted if I do take any action after the result of this analysis that I'm taking, or even any other analysis that I do later in the week. All right, so that's it for euro US dollar. Next up is going to be British pound some US dollar. Now for British pound some US dollar, if you guys remember, I told you guys that well, if you take a look at the daily charts, we have, in the case of GU, we have yet to take off this particular demand zone. You see that, well, earlier in the week, the markets gave us a test of that demand zone tapped, and you can see the bulls came in. But right now, you can see that, well, the bears are coming in, again in momentum. It's looking more bearish than bullish, in all honesty. However, we are still trading within that particular demand zone area. And I had told you guys in the midweek Forex forecast that personally, I would love to see, the bears coming in these markets and, close candles below this particular demand zone that we have here, just like in the case of DXY and in the case of euro dollar. All right, so that means that pounds is probably more stronger, okay. That's the reason why this market is still trading inside the demand zone, while let's say in the case of euro dollar, euro dollar has already broken below that particular demand zone area. So let's see. Personally, I would like to see the bears come into this market either directly closing candles below, and then from there I'll be looking for short opportunities, or in the event that, let's say, the bulls still come into this market and we have to make it back into this particular area, chances are that the markets can turn around from here for further continuations to the downside, okay. So let's see. I'm more bearish than bullish, to be honest, but again, let's take a look and see what we have here in the 4 hours time frame. You can see how the market is forming. We do have this nice supply zone in here that was formed as a result of the break of this level of structure to the downside. So the markets again gave us this push to the downside, but you can see in this case as well, we didn't make a new low. So well, for those of you who love fair value gaps, again, this is another fair value gap, in my own opinion, that the markets can easily come into close. Again, supply zones in here, markets can give you a reversal and then for further continuations to the downside. So we do have some confluence in here. You can see we have that supply zone. We also have this particular trend line. So if the market is to really give us that pullback, chances are that we might find resistance off of here, and any reversals might lead to further continuations to the downside. So that's pretty much it for GU. Like I said, two courses of action. Markets can easily make it into this particular supply zone, and then from here give us a reversal for further continuations to the downside, or let's say in the event that we begin to shoot down from here, breaking below this particular supply zone, then chances are the bears might continue to come into this market upon any retracements for further continuations to the downside off of supply zones that form on our charts. All right, so that's pretty much it for British pounds and US dollar. Now, in the case that, let's say, the market markets begin to clearly break above this particular trend line, then that might be green lights that, well, maybe this demand zone is holding, and you might want to start searching for long opportunities upon demand zones that form on our chart after we get a break above this particular trend line and above this particular supply zone that we have in here. So that is less likely from the price action that I'm seeing on my chart right now, but at the end of the day, anything can happen, so we have to put that into consideration as well. So that's it for GU. Next up is going to be New Zealand dollar, US dollar. This market's, well, generally bearish. Okay, you can see we have clearly taken off this level to the downside, okay, right around here. So, well, it's generally bearish, but it's not looking nice, in all honesty. Okay, as you can see here, we do have obviously this supply zone in here that the market's pretty much tapped, and from there you can see the bears started coming into this market in momentum. However, after this drop, it's just like the market stopped moving anywhere pretty much. We didn't take off this low. The market is now consolidating. So as you can see here, in my own opinion, the market is consolidating at the moment, this being the high and this being the low. So like I said, it's looking more bearish in my own opinion. All right, that doesn't mean that we cannot easily from here, let's say, get a move to the upside towards this particular highs, and then from here the bears can come in again to continue to push this thing to the downside. Okay, or from here, who knows, the market just gives us a break to the downside, and then upon any pullbacks, any supply zones that form, I'll be looking for opportunities to go short for further continuations to the downside. Okay, but as far as price remains in here, this is not a high quality in my own opinion. Okay, so it's either we get a clear break above this particular level, creating demand zones in the process, and then if we get a pullback, I will look for buy opportunities, or the market gives me a clear short, okay, below this particular level, and then if we get supply zones, this is going to be my preferred course of action, and any supply zones in there, I'll be looking for opportunities to go short for further continuations to the downside. So that's pretty much it for New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Next up is going to be Australian dollar, US dollar. Australian dollar, US dollar, it almost I wouldn't even say almost. This is looking like a head and shoulder at this particular moment. As you can see, this being the first shoulder, this being the head, and then this being the second shoulder, and the markets might be coming in here. And the funny thing is, it's almost like a head and shoulder in a head and shoulder, because I'm going to show you something now, that this market can easily do. This is kind of the price action that might finally happen in this particular pair. Okay, but again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. If I zoom out, you see what I mean. So you see, this could easily be well, a head and shoulder. You can see this being the first shoulder, this everything here being the head. All right, and then we have the next shoulder in here for the markets to drop. All right, so again, this means that if this is to happen, then we are looking at a very nice sell-off towards let's say 0.6400 areas. Okay, but again, let's see how that goes. But for right now, what do we have in these particular markets? Well, this is the neckline of this particular, well, I say potential head and shoulder. Okay, 0.6660 being the neckline of that particular head and shoulder. So these markets can easily maybe give us another rotation to the upside. Okay, before we get an attack of this level. If we take off these levels in here, chances are that maybe the markets might give us a pullback, okay, and then from there give us a dip into this particular demand zone area, which in my own opinion will coincide with pretty much being the the completion of this head and shoulder pattern formation. Okay, so let's see. This is looking more likely in my own opinion. I'm not so keen to go long in this particular currency pair, and at the same time, I am honestly not so keen to go short either at this point. Okay, the reason being that obviously if we go into the 4 hours, the daily time frame, you notice that, well, this is a clear demand zone area. Okay, this is a clear demand zone. The markets can easily give us a dip into this particular demand zone area and then continue to the upside. Nothing prevents that from happening. Okay, so because again, this is a demand zone that led to the break of this particular levels of structure that we have on our chart. So chances are we have some buy orders sitting in here, and the markets can give us that reversal to the upside. All right, there are a lot of charts, in my own opinion, that are looking clearer than this particular one. But all in all, just going by, will I say, relative analysis of the other dollar pairs, chances are this might end up going to the downside, but it's going to be a lot of hesitation, and I'm not going to be so interested in this particular currency pair at this point, in all honesty. All right, so that's it for Australian dollar, US dollar. Next up is going to be US dollar, Swiss francs. In the daily charts, what do we have? Again, this one is another one that behaved as anticipated. Okay, markets give us a pullback into demand zones in the 4 hours time frame, and from there you can see the bulls have come into this market, and we are continuing to move to the upside, okay, creating demand zones in the process. So we do have this will I call it a trend line at this point? It's not even a trend line because we have not taken off this low, but again, we do have this line in here. All right, so price is slowly but surely getting towards this particular area. Now the question is, are we going to finally now break to the upside, break this line to the upside, maybe for further continuations to the upside, or is the market still going to find a way to respect that line for us to drop again, just like we dropped in these areas right around here? Okay, so again, only time will tell, but slowly but surely we are coming very, very close to that particular area. That is something to keep an eye on in dollar franc. Okay, now if I go into the 4 hours time frame, you can see that this market is trading inside a rising channel. This was the opportunity that I was telling you guys about. Okay, I actually took a trade in this particular one, and for those of you who want to see how I trade, feel free to go in my YouTube channel. You'll see where I have like my trade of the day video series. Feel free to watch those videos. You're going to see exactly how I trade and how I approach the markets. Okay, it's a lot of learning to be done in those videos as well. Okay, I'm not there to show you profits. I'm there to show you pretty much my thought process as I walk through my trading day. All right, so that's it for US dollar, Swiss francs in the 4 hours time frame. Now, what do I see here, guys? Not much, to be honest. Okay, we do have this particular demand zone area, all right, and you can see the markets came in here, tapped and took off in momentum. Not much I can do in there, and right now we also failed to take off this particular high. So again, this is now becoming a critical level, in my own opinion, a level to keep an eye on. All right, so let's see, are we gonna make it back into this particular demand zone to maybe retest this trend line right inside this demand zone area, from where maybe the bulls might come into this market in momentum? Okay, that is the possibility that I'm seeing right now on my charts. Okay, a possible retest of this particular demand zone, and then for the markets to give us that push to the upside. Or with the markets open, and from here, let's say the bulls begin to come into this market and we take off these levels in momentum. And if that's the case, then any demand zones that form in this area, I'll be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside. Okay, so both of them, in my own opinion, are equally valid. Okay, chances are the markets can again, in the first case, give us that push to the downside into that demand zone, into that trend line for further continuations to the upside, or a push above this particular level in momentum, creating demand zones, and then the market stops and gives us another push to the upside. That is what I can see right now in dollar franc. And like I said, I'm going to be keeping you guys posted in the Discord channel. Now, that's it for dollar franc. Next up is going to be US dollar, Canadian dollar. Now, US dollar, Canadian dollar, if I start off from the daily charts, okay, you can see this week we didn't really have much of an activity in this pair. It's almost like it didn't even do much, okay, as you can see. We are now finally tapping in, okay, to earlier today, we tapped into that particular supply zone that I told you guys that led to the break of this particular trend line, okay, and the break of this level of structure. So chances are that we can run into heavy resistance in here, and the markets can easily turn around, okay. Going long in this area now, in my own opinion, is going to be a low quality trading idea, because again, we do have this significant supply zone in here. Anything can happen from right around here, okay. So in my opinion, this is also another one that I'm going to be staying away from, okay, because again, you can see if you didn't get long in these areas, then in my own opinion, this is you're quite late to the party, just like I am, okay. So who knows, if the market is to give us a tumble to the downside, and then from here we get another opportunity, then going long from here will make sense, in my own opinion. But from these highs, very close to this supply, very close to this trend line, these markets can easily turn from either of these particular areas, okay. So I'm not so keen looking for long opportunities from right around these highs, okay. And I'm also not eager to look for short opportunities as well, because if you guys remember from the monthly time frame, I told you guys that again, this market is looking bullish, okay, because again, as you can see here, we do have obviously this particular particular demand zone in here. I know it's a large one, but again, it led to the break of this level of structure, this consolidation we had here, and you can see how the market is reacting off of that particular demand zone area. So chances are that well, this market all in all might give us a continuation to the upside, okay? But we are not trading the monthly time frame, okay? So that's something to keep an eye on. Now, unless, let's say, in the intraday levels, maybe minute 30, and so I see a trading opportunity for a quick intraday move, that's the only thing. But from the 4 hours and above, in my opinion, is quite risky. In all honesty, this 4 hours area here is a demand zone, as you can see, because again, we did have this level of consolidation right here, 139.20 level. You can see how it works as resistance, and finally we got this nice push above, all right, that particular level. So this is a demand zone area, but you can see that move is what pretty much tapped the supply zone in the daily. So again, we now have a conflicting idea: bulls from below, bears from above. I am not going to be part of this particular party. Okay, so yes, I'm going to be leaving UCAD for now. Next up is going to be US dollar Japanese yen. Now, for US dollar Japanese yen, as you can see here, well, this is a very interesting chart right now because well, if I place a line right here right now, because again, I'm looking at the weekly charts, and if I place this line right here, you notice that well, the markets gave us a break of this particular consolidation, as we can see, break above this level. You can easily say that this is a quick liquidity grab, okay? Again, you can see how we are closing a pin bar. This is interesting. Let's just say interesting for now, okay? Because again, this could easily be the beginning of a bearish push in this particular currency pair. Very, very easy. It can be the beginning. Let's say the markets begin to heavily trend to the downside now. This could be the signal, okay, that we grab liquidity above these highs that we have here, all right, about a year ago, actually, okay, and we have this pin bar and, grabbing liquidity, pin bar formation, and this is the weekly charts, and the markets can turn around. That is very, very possible, in all honesty, based on this particular price action. But it's not yet confirmed because, again, the market is not breaking any key levels. You can see, we have pullback, continuation, pullback, continuation, pullback, continuation, pullback, continuation. And, well, you're not going to be wrong to be searching for a continuation from right around here after this pullback, okay? So, but again, this formation is one to keep in mind as we look for trading opportunities in this particular currency pair. If you begin to notice a lot of hesitation early next week, then chances are that, well, this pin bar might have a lot of information in it that the bears might, start coming in from here. Very, very possible, okay? But at the same time, if we take a look at the daily charts, this market is clearly in an uptrend, okay? You can see that we did have this particular level around here, okay, that worked as a level of structure, pretty much a lot of resistance around there. The markets came in here, massively gave us another hesitation around here, for further continuations to the upside, all right, breaking and even closing above that particular level in the daily, okay? So, well, conflicting information now, as you can see, but again, this for right now, in my opinion, is still looking perfectly bullish, okay? And if I zoom into the 4 hours time frame, you notice that, again, this is the level I'm talking about. The markets gave us a little hesitation in here, okay? Hesitation, demand zone, boom, to the upside, all right? So this is obviously a valid demand zone area, and you can see that, well, the markets gave us a tap into that particular demand zone earlier today, and well, you can see that the bulls came in here, and well, the market is now closing just above that particular level. So this is conflicting information, in all honesty, okay? In the weekly, this turned out being a pin bar formation with a spike above that particular level highs in the weekly, all right? But in the daily and in the 4 hours, we are having very nice demand zone formations, okay? So again, the longer time frame can have a lot of information in it, okay? In my opinion, if we go into next week and we begin to see a lot of hesitation, this market's doing a whole lot of nothing next week around here, then chances are that, well, that pin bar might have a lot of information, and we might be actually getting ready to go heavily shorts, okay, in this particular, in the yen crosses, okay? But based on what I'm seeing right now, this being the demand zone, all right, that led to the break of that level of structure, all right, what you want to see is early next week for the bulls to come in momentum to continue massively pushing this to the upside. If the bulls are going to still be in control of this market, this is the kind of price action opinion, you want to see. Very massive, decisive, bullish move, okay? That is what is going to confirm to me that, well, the bulls are back in this market. But if you see a lot of hesitation, the market goes up and then dives back down and does something like this, a lot of hesitation, man, you know, start getting ready to go shorts if the markets clearly begin to break below this the lows of that particular pin bar on the weekly. Okay, all right, so that's pretty much it, guys, for US dollar Japanese yen. Next up is going to be British pound Japanese yen. Well, you can see in GJ as well, you can see again another pin bar. Okay, you can see how the week closed the pin bar, but again, we are yet to take off any key levels, okay? Until the markets begin to clearly break below these lows, then we are still bullish, okay? So where this could be early signs of weakness, but in my own opinion, let's see how it goes, okay? Now, in the daily time frame, you can see that, well, obviously, we do have a demand zone in here that led to the break of this particular level of structure. Markets are yet to get to that particular demand zone area, but in my own opinion, we are now testing these areas as well. Who knows? The markets can easily give you, might be one more rotation to the downside, and from there, the bulls can easily come into this market in momentum, respecting this particular demand zone area, okay? So that's something to definitely keep an eye on as we go into next week, okay? If in the 4 hours time frame, I don't even think there's much happening. Obviously, this demand zone in here has already given way to the downside, so we are now looking at the demand zone in the daily charts, okay? So let's see, are we going to make it in here, maybe one more rotation, and then from there the bulls come into this market, or you know, or are the bears going to come in and begin to clearly break below this? Then in my own opinion, that means that the yen crosses might be getting ready for a huge sellout. Let's see how that goes. Now, that's it for GJ. I'm going to be keeping you guys posted. Next up is going to be Euro Yen. Now, Euro Yen, again, let's take a look at the weekly. Not much. Obviously, we do have another demand zone in here in the weekly, okay? We do have a pin bar as well, but again, we've not broken any key levels yet. All right, we do have obviously this particular demand zone area, okay? You can see, if you guys remember this demand zone, I called this last week, okay, that the market was going to give us this push to the upside. Now we've broken this level of structure, and this is now a demand zone, and you can see that in this particular case, the market has retested this particular demand zone. So again, anywhere from right around here, these markets can easily give us a turnaround, okay, for further continuations to the upside. This is what I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on as we go into next week to see if I do get that reversal. All right, in the 4 hours time frame, not much, okay? Again, like I said, the market has just made it, the market has just made it into that particular demand zone area. Now, in the hourly time frame, obviously, we do have the markets giving us lower highs and lower lows. All right, as you can see here, this is being the supply zone area that we have in the hourly charts. So let's see, it would be nice next week to see maybe this market give us a break above this particular supply zone area on the hourly. That will be a very clear confirmation of shift, and then from there the bulls can easily come into this market for further continuations to the upside. Like I said, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on Euro Yen as we go into next week, and if I do take any actions on this pair, I'm going to be keeping you guys posted in the Discord channel. All right, that's it for EJ. Next up is going to be Australian dollar Japanese yen. Very similar story. You can see in this case we do have a demand zone from the daily charts. You can see obviously this is demand that led to the break of this level of structure. Let me see how the weekly closed. Again, another pin bar. Well, let's see. This is not the first time this pair has closed the, this market has closed the pin bar. You can see we do have pin bar and we still continue to the upside. Pin bar and we still continue to the upside. Well, pin bar, who knows, we might still continue to the upside. So don't be so alarmed with that pin bar. If the pin bar forms and does not take off level of structures to the downside, then you don't have to fret, in my own opinion. Okay, so that's something to keep an eye on. So don't just go short because you're seeing a pin bar on the weekly. All right, now if we go into the daily charts, as you can see here, we do have this particular demand zone that led to the break of this level of structure. The markets pulled back today, literally just tapped the top of that particular demand zone, which in this case actually coincides with the demand zone from the 4 hours time frame. All right, and you can see this area, in my opinion, might be an area where the markets can easily just turn around from for further continuations to the upside. Okay, it's very possible also we might go deeper in this particular area before maybe the turnaround happens, okay, to the upside. All in all, for now, I'm still more bullish than bearish, okay, even though we are beginning to get, let's say, significant dips, but again, those dips have now taken us pretty much into the demand zones that we have on the daily chart. So it will behoove you, in my opinion, to watch and see if you're going to get any reversals for further continuations to the upside. But if the bears continue next week to come in momentum, pushing lower and lower, taking off demand zones that we have on the daily, then that might be an indication that we're about to have some serious sellout in the yen crosses. Okay, all right, so that's it for Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Next up is going to be British pounds, Australian dollar. I don't have anything in here. Euro pounds, I don't have anything in here. Euro Australian dollar. So again, Euro Australian dollar, I like to only pay attention in the longer time frames. You can see here, we do have this supply zone that led to the break of this level of structure. Again, markets have not done much. Let's see, are we going to get that pullback into this particular supply zone? If we do, any reversals from there, in my own opinion, will be high quality for further continuations to the downside. That's pretty much what I have right now for Euro Australian dollar. Now, next up is going to be gold. Now, for gold, well, again, this market obviously generally in an uptrend as we speak. As you can see here, the market's pretty much just retested this previous swing high earlier today. Okay, as you can see, the market's dipped in, tapped that previous swing high area, and you can see that we are getting some resistance. However, we do have these highs around this area. Market is pretty much, in my opinion, in the middle of nowhere at this point. Okay, so what I would love to see, two courses of action, in my own opinion, that I would prefer to see. One is, well, the market gives us a push to the downside into this particular daily demand zone area. All right, this is the daily demand zone area that led to the break of this level of structure. So if we get that and the market gives us this reversal, obviously I'll be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside. Or let's say this is now, obviously, as you can see here, this is a daily pin bar. Markets can open and we get a massive push to the upside, clearly taking off this level of our resistance that we have, or level of structure that we have. All right, creating a new demand zone in here, and then from there, obviously, even in the smaller time frames, I'll be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside. Okay, that is pretty much what I can see right now for gold. Now, next up is going to be silver. Now, for silver, what do we have? Very similar. You can see very nice, bullish trend. Obviously, this is the daily time frame. As you can see, this is the daily demand zone area. Well, again, just like I said, we can easily get a push to the downside, all right, into this particular demand zone. Let's say 7,700 levels, anywhere, 77 level, anywhere from right around here. I'll be looking for opportunities to go long upon any reversals, okay, for further continuations to the upside, all right. Now, if we go into the 4 hours time frame, you can see that the market is not doing a whole lot right now. We do have this particular demand zone area, okay, this demand that led to the break of this level of structure, and you can see the market gave us a massive push to the downside, okay, into that demand zone area, and you can see we retested it again today. So again, our market is not doing a whole lot. You can see we pull back in here, but again, we failed to make a new high with this particular push, and then the market is turning around now. So the market is pretty much bouncing around between a supply zone, all right, and a demand zone area. So market is now in a range at this particular point. So, well, one of two things will have to happen: a break above this range, or for the markets to give us a break below the range. Any of the two, in my own opinion, are valid. However, I'm only interested in going long. So if we do break above this particular range, then demand zones will form. And if that happens, I'll be looking for opportunity to go long off of those demand zones for further continuations to the upside. Or if we break below, chances are we are now trending to the downside in the smaller time frames. I'm not going to be so interested. But if we get into this particular demand zone area, 7,700 areas, anywhere from right around here, I'll be interested in looking for long opportunities for further continuations to the upside. That's it for silver. Last but not the least is going to be Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is moving quite, will I say, surprising at this point. Well, not surprising, but it's as if we might actually about to rotate again to the upside. Okay, this is the monthly time frame. As you can see, the markets might easily just be finding a reversal off of this particular, will I say, off of this particular, demand zone area, okay, because again, this is a demand zone that led to the break of this level of structure. Personally, I would have preferred to see this market give me a rotation to the downside into this particular demand zone. This is my interest, okay, but again, obviously the market has the final say. This would have been my preferred course of action, but from what I'm seeing right now, the market might easily be turning around from these particular areas that we have in here, okay, and well, who knows, if we push higher, maybe a little pullback, and then for further continuations to the upside. That could be a possibility in Bitcoin. But remember, again, this is the monthly time frame. If we take a look, let's say at the daily time frame now, you will notice that again, this market was dropping here, forming lower highs and lower lows, taking off previous lows, and forming lower highs and lower lows. But if you notice, the markets pretty much had this level of this level of resistance around this area. Okay, obviously this supply zone area, but then earlier today again, okay, or actually earlier this week, the market gave us a break above that particular supply zone area. So, well, this is the first sign, okay, this is the first sign that the bulls are coming into these markets, okay. Chances are that, well, again, this is that demand zone area that led to the break of that level of structure. So the markets, I would not be surprised if this, let's say, this market finds a way to even pull back into this demand zone for further continuations to the upside. I would not be surprised if that happens. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if you can see this level of structure that we have in here. The market has tested it now and close today a pin bar. I wouldn't even be surprised if we got a massive push again to the upside from here. Okay, but personally, what I would love to see is, or what I would have loved to see is for these markets to give me a push to the downside into those particular monthly levels. So let's see, who knows, it's not yet over. Anything can happen in this particular currency, in these particular pairs. Markets can easily also tap into this particular supply zone area, all right, and turn around. So it's very, very possible we can get a move of this particular nature, all right, into this supply zone, and then from there continue again to the downside towards that 70k level. Anything is possible, guys. Okay, so I would say personally, I'm still waiting for that 70k. If I miss it, so be it. Okay, all right, that's pretty much it for Bitcoin, and that will be the end of this particular weekly forex forecast video. Hopefully you guys gained some value from this video, and if you did, guys, please do not forget to like, subscribe, check out other videos that I have on my channel. I have my trade of the week videos. I have the midweek forex forecast videos that I release every Wednesday. All right, and well, that's pretty much it, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers and enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.